Sometimes you need to send a card to uplift and encourage, and I'm going to share two cards today that do just that, featuring some really beautiful, soft tones and wonderful products designed by Christina Werner. To see that video, stick around. It's coming up next. Here's a look at the products I'll be creating my encouragement card with today. And these are all from Christina Werner. And we have this beautiful trio of dies called Here For You, Sending Hugs, Here For You, and It Will Be Okay. And I'll be using the Easy Repeat Stitched Vines for my background. And then these Everything Will Be Okay stamps I'm going to use on the inside. So let me get started with some stamping. I'm going to place this down right in the center of a panel of sea glass cardstock. I just trimmed it a little bigger, and I'm going to be trimming the whole piece down, but I thought, and this is probably going to be good enough, I thought that I would do this color because I find these blues to be very soothing and calming. Now, because this is a brand new stamp, I am using my stamp conditioning eraser to just get the coating off of the photopolymer. You can also do this with your hands. You don't need to have a special eraser, and really it's only the first few times that you are using something like this. And I will be using the Versamark. However, I'm going to add anti-static powder, and that is just so that we have plenty of static-free places to stamp. So I'll get a nice coating here, bring this down, and then I'm going to transfer it. And you can't see it, but I can see it. So let me add a little more to this. Okay, and bringing this down again and transfer. Now here you can look and find a few of the areas that maybe you need to give a little more, but by and large, that's going to be really pretty for what I have planned. All right, let me get my powder. I'll be using some alabaster white powder from Brutus Monroe, and we'll just sprinkle this all on. Just let it coat. And just kind of let it fall like that. And there we have the beautiful pattern on the sea glass. Let me get my heat tool warmed up and we'll melt this powder. Look at how pretty that is. It's just so elegant on the sea glass, right? And now that I have all of this powder melted, I am going to let this cool, and then I'm going to cut out a panel for my card. Off camera, I went ahead and did the It Will Be Okay, and this cuts in two pieces, which is kind of cool, so you can place it perfectly on the shadow layer. I cut two white cardstock layers out of 110 weight and then topped it with the sea glass because I think that is going to be just the simplest, most elegant card. And this is 3 3/4 by 5. So the reason I like these larger panels is you can crop however you like to get that little bit of stitching right about there. And I will go ahead and run this through my die cut machine and then get some foam tape on this panel and prepare a note card. I've got some foam tape on the back, and I just prepared a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch note card. And this pattern, you can flip it. It can go either way. I'm going to go with this part down because I know that my greeting is going to fit up and still show the bloom. So I'm going to pop this down right onto my note card. So this has a nice little framing margin space. And then I'm going to place this sort of shifted up a little because I like how that looks, almost like it's the top of the page kind of deal. I don't think I want to put it right in the, well, No, I want to put it up. So I'm actually going to grab my ruler, although these bottom lines go up and down a bit, so I'll just have to visually place it. I've got regular depth foam squares on the back here, and I'll add a bit of liquid glue to these so this has a little bit of float time. Add my liquid glue. Again, this just gives you a second to wiggle and straighten your piece because the foam squares tend to stick so hard and fast that if you get it in the wrong place, it's kind of hard to move. But I do want this to be up here, right above the bloom. I just kind of like that top, more on the top side. And then I'll just look from side to side, make sure that is visually centered. I guess it could come over just a tiny bit from there to there. And that way, oh, I think that is so pretty. We'll just let that, oh, see, it slipped a little. We'll just let that adhere. In fact, you know what I could do? If I drop this again, there we go. We're perfectly straight. Okay, isn't that pretty? It's just, it is so simple and elegant. Now, I am going to add a greeting to the inside. I'm going to use the Everything Will Be Okay stamps for the inside of the card. Now, here's kind of a fun thing that Christina's doing. She's putting the names of the greetings themselves next to the die so that can make it easier to find. I am not going to die cut these today, and these would be great just as a standalone on a card. But what I will do is I really like This Is Tough, It's Okay to Feel This Way. I think it's really important to acknowledge when people are going through something hard and honoring their experience, right? So let me get these set up. And of course, you can pick up the stamps with the card hanging out, and it will not harm the card. And I'm going to use sea glass for this. That will give a nice little visual repetition from the cardstock color. And we'll just ink this up like that, and I will stamp this down. Just let that transfer. And I actually think that's going to be really pretty for the inside. I guess I could, yeah, you know what? I like the way it looks. Now, there is another little detail as well. There's these little ticking lines, and you could certainly put that at the bottom of the card if you wanted a little more color. I'm just going to keep this really simple. And that is my finished card project. I'm not going to put anything else on it. Sometimes I really like a minimal card without any extras added because I think this card is beautiful by itself. The colors are very supportive and calming, and that finishes this card project. For the next card, I went ahead and stamped and embossed that same background stamp onto some Concord & Ninth white cardstock. And see that really beautiful pattern? Isn't that pretty? We're going to do a simple emboss resist. Now I have, seal that down here, I have 3 colors. So I'm going with an analogous scheme of buttercup, pistachio, and sea glass. And all that means is they basically follow one another on the color wheel. But what I'm going to do is actually kind of mix them up a bit. Instead of making like a rainbow, I'm just going to kind of add some color and then wipe off as I go. So we'll start out here with a little bit of buttercup, and I'll just bring it in from the top and blend on. Probably put this in a couple places, and as I blend, you'll start to see the pattern come through. It's the wonderful part about Emboss Resist, that white will show up and it'll give us that really soft, pretty look. I'm going to bring some down here. Now I will be cropping, and I'm going to crop in quite a bit. I have an idea. And sometimes I love to make, you know, a pretty background, but then go in and crop it really tight. Sometimes you can get twofer, but I like to have a lot to choose from. All right, so those are the first colors. Then I will bring in, you know what? I'm going to bring in sea glass next, because when you overlap yellow and blue, you get a green. And so it could be kind of cool just to see first, how is this going to look? And I'll bring this in, overlap a little. See how that turns a little green in there? Just get some color going. Like that. It's a little darker on the outside, and that's fine because I know I am not going to be using that far out. So I'm going to start heavier on the outside and then soften it. Like that. Oh, that's looking good. All right. And now I might come back to some of these colors, but I will bring in pistachio. And I don't want this to be too dark, but I'm going to pick some up here on my brush. Okay, just tap it out a little. And again, I'm going to start over here on the edge where that can be dark because I won't be using that. And then I'm going to soften it as I bring it in like that. Okay, like that. Just a little swath. Like that. A little bit up here with just whatever's on the brush. Okay. And again, overlapping as I go. I think I might do a little more sea glass in places. I just like to blend. The nice thing is about dye inks, they will smooth. They continue to kind of work into the cardstock and smooth out. You can come back over, right, with whatever's on your brush, kind of blend that in. I'm going to brighten that. Like that. And I think I will, I'm just going to grab a little more here just to kind of fill in this side, even though I'm not going to be going out that far, but I like to just see my whole panel, right? And kind of bring that in. And again, I'm going to bump up some of that blue, the sea glass. Oh, I think that's really pretty. Anytime you work with analogous colors, you're probably going to have success because when they overlap, they're not going to make anything look muddy on your paper. And kind of the rule of thumb is even if you jump one color on the color wheel, they should still blend. Once you get more than a couple, that's where you start to have some problems with the blend. All right, I'm not going to be using any of this down here, but I do want to bump up my sea glass just a little. You can just keep blending until it looks exactly how you want it to look. Bigger brushes I find to be a little more helpful in getting that area blended out. Okay. All right, I'm just going to let this sit on the cardstock for a few minutes, and then I'm going to grab a die to cut this down. Oh, and also go over the top just to get off any ink that may have pooled, and it really does brighten it up. I'm going to let this simmer and settle a bit. And off camera, I stamped the Better Days Ahead, and I did this on some pistachio because I think that's going to be really pretty. Now, while I'm waiting to trim that down, I thought I would stamp the inside. So here's my note card scored, and of course it will fold that way, but I'm going to flip it in here and actually show you an idea that I have. And that idea is, well, I guess we can just have it be right out this side. I'm going to seal it down to the grip mat. Hopefully it will stick. And I'm going to use the little ticking on here just to add something to the bottom of the inside of the cards. See that right there? Let's get it kind of as straight as I can. That looks pretty good. I can pick it up, right? It'll stick to the door. And let me rotate around here. And I'm just going to stamp this, well, maybe the sea glass. I'll show you how you can do this with your hands. Just kind of rub over it like that, right? And then, yeah, I think I'll do sea glass. I'm just going to get that mostly where it needs to be, bring it down, and just transfer the nice little ticking pattern. That's why we love our Misty. To the bottom, like that. And now I can go ahead and also stamp the small greeting. Let me get this cleaned up really quickly. That's a good sound. See right there. Pull that up. And I'm going to put each day is one step closer on the inside, which works with the greeting. And then just enough room to, you know, write a note to the recipient. And again, pick this up, prime just a little, take my sea glass ink, tap, and I may do this twice depending on how it, although that looks really good too. Oh, let's do it twice. We'll make that a little darker. And that will be for the inside of the card. And now I can take this and close it, and I will give that a nice press. Give that a nice press like that. I will tape that closed. Now it's time to crop. And I don't want to freak anyone out here, but I am going to crop this way down. In fact, what is the measurement on this? Hold on here. I say 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. I love this particular crop size. And in fact, oh my gosh, I could even go smaller. I could. Because here's the thing. Sometimes I really love the look of a tight crop. So what is this? Let me just measure it real quick. I know it's only a 1/4 inch down. So this is 3 by 3 3/4. Is that right? Yeah, okay. Let's take a look. Because here's what we do. We look, we get all the little bits that we might want to have. Oh, I'm not on the magnet. That's why it wasn't magnetizing. There we go. We kind of just frame it out, and you look at all the sides to say, where is the best crop for me? Now I want to make sure there's a lot of brightness so we get the greens, the blues, just coming in like that. Now I could go over a little more and get a twofer, but here's the thing. Sometimes when I'm making cards, I just go with the flow, and I don't sweat wasting anything if it is in the service of making a beautiful card. So let me cut this out. Alrighty, let's take a look. And now we have our crop. Now I could save some of this too and put a, this could have been a strip on the inside of the card. There are other things, but this is the magic that I wanted. Let me get some foam tape on this and we'll finish out the card. I popped the panel onto the note card and see how it has that nice wide margin. It's just very pretty. I love that. And we will put the better days ahead basically right in the center. See, that's why I like that liquid glue, and I like it at an angle. And press. And again, I don't want to embellish this because I think this is just so pretty by itself, right? It doesn't need, sometimes you don't need all the extra things, but look at the beautiful embossed little background. The colors are nice, and now I can open this up. So better days ahead. Each day is one step closer. And that finishes this card project. Even though these are very simple cards, we can still talk about the design. And one of the things I wanted to do with this card was shift the greeting up. Now, it is not completely centered on the grid because this little overlay represents just 9 quadrants in a design. These overlapping little circle areas are just points of visual interest. But when you shift something up, it makes it less symmetrical, right? We have more of a greeting up top with open space in the bottom. Now on this design, the only thing we have to look at really here is the repeating color of sea glass. we have white in our stamped and embossed pattern and white on the shadow layer and the white note card. Of course, if we open this up, and I think I may still have it taped for photographing, we repeat that color, I can take that out, on the inside for that quick visual link of the color. Then for this card here, again, very simple, center weighted. There's nothing really to talk about in terms of balance because that one, right in the middle, right? That's where it belongs. It lives exactly in the center, and that's really all you need. Now here we do have a little bit of our color repetition. So I've got a little pistachio here, and this is pistachio cardstock. We do repeat embossing, right? That's white embossing, and the stitching is white embossing with our analogous colors repeated. And then on the inside of this card, which now I can take the tape out here too, we repeat the sea glass. Oh, what's that little extra? We repeat the sea glass ink right there. So that wraps up a very quick design review. You can find links to all of the products I used in today's video in the YouTube description box. I'll also have a blog post with some photos and more details over there, and that link can also be found in the description box. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, I'd love to have you, so please hit that subscribe button and be sure to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss the next time I post. Here is another video you might be interested in checking out, and I will see you in that clip. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.